We'll get started and people can join as I'm doing the introduction. So, hello and welcome to today's webinar, This Girl Can, Get Moving in the Yarra Ranges, with the speakers Lesley and Joanne from the Yarra Centre and Alycia from Mount Evelyn Football Netball Club. We're very excited that you're joining us today. This webinar will be recorded and made available on Yarra Ranges Council's website following our last webinar. So I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting. I pay my respects to the elders, past and present, and the Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today. If you would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which you're on, please feel free to make an acknowledgement of country in the chat box. So my name is Grace van der Merwe, and my role at Yarra Ranges Council is Recreation Activation Officer, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm excited to be facilitating this Girl Can Local Women webinar today. A big thank you to the Vic Health for their support and for making the This Girl Can campaign available for Victorian women. So I'll just start off with some housekeeping. So as a member of the audience, you're set up on mute with your video off, so kick back and relax and enjoy the session. We encourage you to use the chat function if you have any tech issues. So you can message directly our tech support through Moreland Community Connection. We also have the Q&A section for any questions that you might have for the speakers, and we'll ask these questions at the end after their talk. You're welcome to use the chat function for any comments or observations you might have throughout the presentation, but if it is a question, please use the Q&A function. You should see access to both of these items at the bottom of your screen. But if you can't, look for the three little dots and click or tap there to access the menus. So on to the webinar for today. So first we're going to hear from Lesley and Joanne from the Yarra Centre. Then Alycia is going to share her experience about playing AFL. After this, we're going to have some time for questions. So feel free to put those in throughout the webinar and we'll ask them at the end after the talks. So I'd like to introduce you to our first speakers, Lesley and Joanne, from the Yarra Centre in Yarra Junction. So over to you, Lesley and Joanne.
Hi guys, my name's Joanne and I work as the gym coordinator here at the Yarra Centre.
And I'm Lesley and I'm the centre manager at Yarra Centre.
I wanted to sort of start by talking about not setting the goals too high and why gym can be for anyone, no matter what your background is, whether you've got injuries or whether you don't feel like you're fit enough, strong enough. There's always things that we can do to help ourselves get healthier, fitter and feel better. We in the gym always write up a program based on what a physio may write out, or if a person is feeling a little bit timid, we always walk around to help encourage you and make you feel a bit safer in your exercise. Often I think we set the bar maybe a little too high. We look at a lot of people out there that you see on TV and things lifting heavy weights and you think that's what the gym's about. But the gym is for everyone, and as a female you can do this, and sometimes it's just as simple as stepping through the front door. I fell into this industry probably about 2001 and I've loved it ever since. Exercise is a big part of my life. I love it and I hope that I can spread that feeling and enjoyment of exercise with every one of you that's watching today. I guess if I could say anything to anyone out there that's listening, it's give it a go. Just give it a go, try it out because you can and it's worth it. I've got Lesley who's here with me too today, manager.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I think just touching on what Jo was saying is the big thing about having a go and This Girl Can is just building our confidence. I think my experience over the years, I've been in this industry since of over 30 years. Predominantly it was my interest in getting a little bit fitter myself that got me into the industry. I can thank my interest in fitness to actually giving me a career in this industry. So you just actually never know from where you start, whether it's football, whether it's in the gym, whatever sport you start in, what can open up for you in the future. When I first started, way back 30 years ago, now I'm sort of at the tender age of just turning 60, and I'm still doing gym work, I'm still doing running, some of the other sports that I really enjoy, and of course these days as I get older I have to kind of add in a bit of cross training just to save the body just a little bit. But when I first started, you know, I started in the industry, I guess like everybody does, like most of you out there, where I want to get a little bit fitter, and I went to the gym, and then I started running, and probably like a lot of people started running to lose a little bit of weight. That's what I thought at the time. And through that though, I needed a purpose. So I needed a purpose to go and do these things rather than just about what I looked like, you know, which is what a lot of us tend to concentrate on. So I then went out and thought, oh, maybe I'll do a marathon. Back then, I still haven't done one, by the way. So I thought I'd go out and do an event. So I started following a training program, and I couldn't run very far without stopping. So then I went, oh God, that's not going to happen. So then I found an all-women's triathlon. So I got really excited by that and started training for that and utilising what I was doing in the gym as a purpose. And, you know, I got so much satisfaction out of that. It was just amazing to actually be able to complete something that you never thought possible. And, you know, and that's how it all sort of evolved. And then from there I went into coaching, and only because out of my interest, I wanted to learn more, I wanted to improve. So I guess my focus was on just improving. And as my confidence grew, you know, I was able to take on those little extra challenges. So that's what I'm saying to you, is that sometimes we focus too much, or we all tend to focus too much on what we look like, rather than how we feel, what we can achieve, you know, and where we've come from, and how far we've come.
So we're going to go into a little role play. We thought it might be a bit of a fun way to kind of express some of the barriers that we set for ourselves as females when it comes to exercise, especially in the gym, but even outside of the gym, we put barriers up all the time. So we're going to start. I'm going to be the one that's going to try and persuade Lesley in this first one. So,
hi, Jo. I've been thinking about going to the gym, but you know, I really think I'm a little bit old. What do you know, to do this?
You're not too old, Lesley.
Well, you know, I haven't done sport ever. Well, probably not since I was about, I don't know, 15. So I'm pretty unfit. I walk my dog on a daily basis, but I just thought, you know, I might need just something extra, but I don't know. I really think that it's for young people.
It's not for young people, it's for everyone. Did you know that by doing exercise, you can actually strengthen your bone density and help yourself from getting things like osteoporosis? You can also help with your balance. And that's a great way to prevent ending up in a retirement home. And I think most of us would want to try and avoid that if we could. There's also the swimming pool. We could do some light exercise in there. Exercise doesn't have to be hard. It can be fun, and it's for everyone.
I must admit, I am feeling pretty a bit crooked these days, and a little bit tight in the old muscles. So, you know, maybe, do you think that might benefit me?
Absolutely. So basically, when it comes to making up an excuse about age, there's exercise to suit everyone's abilities. Age is just a number, and some people could be like Lesley, who's quite open about the fact she's 60 and she's running. She's incredible. She could run loops around me, and yet I'm 40, and here Lesley's fitter than I am. So again, age is just a number. Don't let it stop you from trying something new, or just point yourself out there.
It is probably one of our biggest growth areas is the older adult, and the other thing about exercising when you're older, apart from just the general well-being things, is I mean, I probably spend more time now as a older runner, patching myself up. So you do have, you know, obviously you're more prone to a few little niggles and things here and there, but the great thing about that is that because you want to continue doing things, you go and work on the things that you need. So that way you're actually in a better position health-wise than most other people your age. It's a bit like a car, you know, it's a bit like fine-tuning, so it's running a little bit rough. So you need to then work on it. So, you know, so far so good. I don't have any medications. I'm able to do most of the things. I can trek up a hill. And that's what you want to do, is you want to be able to utilize whether it's a gym or I believe you need the gym as you're getting older. You really do need it more than anything. You need to stay strong. That's probably the biggest thing I've had to do, is put gym into my program. But it's all about being able to have a really healthy, happy lifestyle as we age.
We might head across to this one.
Yeah. Joe, why did you decide to come and have a look at the gym?
Why did I come and have a look at the gym today? Well, I would like to see some type of results, but in the past, when I've come in, I haven't gotten any, and I'm not really sure if it's for me, because, you know, I've been at the gym before and I don't lose any weight, and so I'm not sure if I should really do it.
Yeah. So it sounds to me, Joe, that you're tending to concentrate a little bit more too much or on results, which is what actually happens to a lot of us as well. Everything's about a journey. So if we're just focused on a result, as in a weight loss result, that's not really going to be sustainable long term. What we want to try and encourage all the women out there is to concentrate on so many of the other things that the benefits of exercise do, how we feel about ourselves, our confidence, well-being, stress levels, all those types of things. And the most important thing that we like to tell people here is it's all about just being consistent. The more consistent you are over time, the more things just open up for you. And results is just such a finality of an outcome. It's not, that's probably what sets most people up to disappointment. If you start to think, oh gee, I really like Joe, what about the social opportunities? There's also social opportunities. I feel great, I meet people, I have a chat. I don't want to miss it because, you know, it's fun to hang out at the Yarra Centre as well. Those are the types of things we want women to concentrate on, not on what we look like. And certainly it's not sustainable for you to have a lifestyle of activity if we're just focusing on weight or how we look.
Proof of that, I think, for myself personally, is working in the fitness industry. There's a high expectation as a trainer to look a certain way. And, you know, sometimes you find yourself feeling that pressure that you've got to do everything within your power to become that thing that everyone idolizes. And that can lead to some pretty unhealthy habits of your own. So you slowly start to figure out that the most important thing is just being healthy and being yourself. Because if you're constantly doing things to punish yourself because you don't think that you fit up to someone else's mold, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So as we said, exercise is really about just finding something positive to focus on, whether it be coming to just have some time away from the kids, having some time out to feel good about yourself. Maybe you're going to get a little stronger in the gym and you go home and you're like, oh, I can get that lid off the jar, pass it to me. It's all those little things that exercise should be about, and making you feel awesome rather than making you kind of go, I'm not hitting that weight goal. Now I'm going to punish myself. I'm not going to have something to eat, or I'm going to have to go, I don't know, go for some massive run because now I'm not losing. So now I'm going to have to go even harder at it. It's not like that, and it shouldn't be like that.
Or it's not worthwhile, I'll just drop out.
Yeah, exactly. Hang in there.
Hang in there. Joe, I'm going to put another one to you that comes up a lot is, I just don't like exercise.
You just don't like exercise. Well, exercise can be really fun, Lesley. Have you thought about doing it with a friend?
That would be much more fun.
It would be more fun. Often in the gym, what we find is when someone has a gym buddy, so someone who's just as scared as you are, you'll find that gym becomes more fun because you've got someone to, I suppose, feel the insecurities that you're feeling at that moment in time, and together you feel empowered. You feel sort of maybe like someone's backing you up in your corner. It can be scary when you're walking into the gym for the first time, especially if you're doing it on your own. So often if you've got a friend that you've got that can come with you, it will make it a lot smoother for you. There are other ways to make you feel more comfortable, and that's sometimes just starting off with small amounts of time when you come in, and maybe even going into groups. I've always enjoyed group exercises. Have you thought about that, Lesley?
Generally, women do enjoy groups, so we do try and encourage women into groups. I mean, we are natural social animals, so hence group exercise is also a great thing that we encourage a lot of women who come into the centre to try out. If somebody is really quite nervous, we really do try and support you all the way through. So we're not going to send you to a group exercise class that is going to scare the pants off you and make you never want to walk in again. It might be just something quite passive, but it's just, again, as I said, you know, having that social outcome. And the important thing about exercise, and I'm not even going to say exercise, we tend to say activity these days, is really trying to concentrate on the benefits. I know through the whole COVID lockdown, you know, it's been proven, I know for myself, if I didn't have my exercise on a daily basis, I think, you know, there would have been probably a lot higher levels of maybe overwhelmness or whatever. But it's been proven that it helps things like depression, it helps things like anxiety, it gives you that time out. Being even in nature gives us a sense of well-being. So having those sorts of things to concentrate, I think, are much more important as to, you know, we don't have to necessarily love exercise, but if we can really understand the benefits of what it does for us long-term in our lives, and I'm talking about a lifetime, I think that's probably the most important thing for us all to go away from today.
I noticed that we're starting to get close to time, so I'd like to, if it's all right, Lesley, leave you with a quote that I really like. I feel like it's something I'd like to share. So my favourite quote is, always remember you are brave. Never stop feeling strong within yourself. You are smarter than you think you are, and you are twice as beautiful as you've ever imagined. So always remember, if you're out there and you're listening today, that you are, and you can, as a female, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. Just get out there and try. You might not get it the first time, you might not get it the second time, but never give up trying. It's worth it.
And all of us at the Yarra Centre, if you ever feel like that, we're just going to back you 100%, because yep, just as Joe said, you're never too old, you're never too unfit, you're never too whatever. Yeah, you can do it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. The motivational words at the end, Joanne, and the role play throughout, Lesley. That was fabulous. It was really great to hear your perspective, especially from people working in a gym. So now I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker, Alycia, who plays football for Mount Evelyn Football Netball Club. And while Alicia's joining us, I just remind you as well that use the Q&A function for any questions that you have for Lesley or Joanne or Alycia throughout her talk, and then afterwards we'll ask the questions. Thanks, Alycia. Over to you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me today. My name's Alycia, as you know, and I play for the Mount Evelyn women's football team. I started playing football 4 years ago, and my career playing football started out as a bit of fun and a bit of a laugh. I got asked by a friend of mine to go and play a practice match, which was actually for Yarra Junction Football Club. And after playing that game of football, I didn't even know half the rules. I didn't even know how to play, really. But I just fell in love with the sport so much. I had so much fun just running around and exercising. And I guess it was even better because I was doing it with a bunch of other girls who were just having as much fun as what I was. after that day playing that game, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I just kept thinking that I wanted to take this up as a sport. So I ended up playing another practice match for Yarra Junction, and that was actually against Mount Evelyn. And then I made the decision to play for Mount Evelyn. Now, the only reason I decided to play for Mount Evelyn was just based on where I lived at the time, my work schedule and things like that. I think that if Mount Evelyn hadn't have been an option for me, I definitely would still be playing for Yarra Junction, because they were a great club from what I had experienced. So playing for Mount Evelyn, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made, I think, and I've made some of the bestest friends in my football team. Our club really welcomed our team into the club. We've had football functions, football camps, footy trips, dinners. It's not just playing football and training for football. There's a social side to the aspect of being a part of a team, I guess. And it creates a really good bond with one another, not just on the football field, but off the football field. I think one of the most amazing things that I've noticed while playing football in a team is that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what car you drive, what you do for a job. Nothing about the person that you are matters, because you're just a part of this team and this club. And I think you literally do anything on the football field for your teammates, and that bond really comes from the football team, and it goes off the football ground as well. It's been a really good place to sort of go and switch off from the outside world. I know life can be tough at times, and I think, as the other two girls were saying just before, that it's such a good place to go for our mental health. Exercising so good for ourselves. So it's not just about playing football, it's also about enjoying yourselves and having fun, and getting away from the outside world at times when we need to. This year's obviously been a crazy year with COVID, as we all know. We obviously weren't allowed to play this season, which was really tough. But we did create an online environment for us all to try and stay connected and try and stay active. So we had some Zoom workouts run by one of the girls in our team, which was just great. Really good way to stay motivated, because it's really hard when you're just at home on the couch. We also did some Pilates, and we had a running competition, which we actually did against another football team. I think it was against the Basin. They absolutely smashed us, but it was a really good way to stay motivated and sort of get outside and run around. All I can say is that if you guys are thinking about joining a football club, or just wanting to give it a go, please go and do it. If you feel intimidated about heading down to a training session, I do understand that feeling, but I feel as though I could speak for other football teams and clubs that we just love having new people come and join us, because we love having new recruits and people joining our team. And if you are feeling intimidated, as the other two girls said as well, bring a friend. It does make it that little bit more easier. Also, one of the things to remember is it doesn't matter if you've ever played a game of football, if you don't know how to kick a football, or you could have 5 to 10 years experience. There's such a difference in the skill level. Even in my team, I do play in a Premier Division, but as I said, I only started 4 years ago, and to be playing at that sort of level is amazing. But we still have girls that join us that have never played a game in their life. So our coaches are so understanding and patient with us, that we need to learn everything pretty much when it comes to football. So that's about all I have for today, but thanks so much for listening, and go and do it if you're thinking about it.
Thanks, Alycia. It sounds like a really great club. All the things that you've done this year to keep active within the club sounds great. It sounds like keeping everyone engaged. So we're just going to move on to some question and answer time. So as mentioned, enter any questions in the Q&A. And I'll just grab Lesley and Joanne back onto the screen as well. So the first question I'm just going to ask to all of you is, and I'll start with you, Alycia, why is being active important for you?
Being active for myself, as I said before, it's really good for our mental health. I find it's definitely an escape sometimes from other things that are going on in life, whether it be work, family, you know, it could be anything. But it is a really good escape to sort of get out there and just switch off from things. And I guess as well, it's such a good way to stay fit. You know, it's important to look after our bodies and our health. Yeah, it's probably why I like to do it and why
that's a great answer, Alycia. And Lesley next, why is being active or moving important for you?
I think you know, over the years it sort of changes the importance for me as well. When I was younger, I had you know, I might have wanted to compete when I found competition, that type of thing. Now, as I've become a little bit older, I think one thing is, you know, I don't really want to lose what I probably put in when I was younger as well, but also be able to be stronger and just to be able to be as healthy as I can is really important. Like Alycia was saying, you know, mental health. I mean, I normally would do some exercise in the morning before I start work because that gives me my time, and I do find that often in the fitness industry and the quad industry, it's quite busy. So, you know, it sets me up for the day. It gives me that bit of energy. It helps me relax, whether it's even going with the dogs or anything like that. Being in the gym, definitely staying stronger. And I know the times when I've maybe been unwell, or if we all have, those are the times when I always feel probably another 30 years older, and I always say to myself, man, I need to go back into that gym, because that's when you start to feel kind of a little bit weaker. But yeah, I think now I'm older, it's probably become more important to try and at least hold on to that strength that I need to. And also one last thing I do always say to people for older women who are in the workplace as well, I don't think I'd be able to do what I do now in my life if I wasn't fit at my age, and although I don't think 60 that old, but if I want to keep working through another 10 years, and we know retirement ages increase, I really think that fitness is probably my number one priority, and that's not just physically but also mentally as well.
Thanks, Lesley. And Joanne?
Oh, same question.
Same question.
Sorry.
Not a problem. So why is being active important for you, Joanne?
Being active is extremely important to me, because health is so important. I've watched my mother pass away. I watched my father have so many health issues because he didn't look after himself. And I decided at the age of 16, when watching my parents go down that track, that I wanted to live a long life. I wanted to be healthy. I didn't want to experience those things. And I knew that by exercising, I could help by preventing things like diabetes. I could help secure a healthy long life. It's not just about having a long life, but having a good one. And exercise is probably, should I say, it's almost like taking a pill. It can't stop certain things from happening, but it can help prevent them. And so for me, exercise is really important, not only psychologically, but also from a health point of view. It's very, very important to me. I can't express that enough. I love it. It should be part of everyone's life.
Thank you. There's some really great messages coming through just then. It was great to hear you all speak about why it's important for you. So thank you. Lesley and Joanne, we've got a question here coming through from an attendee. What do you recommend or suggest for those getting back into sport after an injury?
Well, both of us actually are aqua instructors, which helps as well. I'm a big believer in water. as part of rehabilitation. Over the years, I did triathlon when I was younger, and so that gave me a great insight into the benefits of water. Now I'm back in the water with a little bit of a niggle as well. So water exercise is probably the number one thing I would recommend, along with some rehabilitation exercises. Generally what we do is we work alongside physios or an allied health professional, so we're guided by them as to what sort of rehabilitation exercises they've given you to get you back in. But again, it's depending on what level you want to get back into. It's, you know, you've got to be able to just realise that you don't need to go gung-ho. So start slowly, listen to your body.
I agree with that. I guess working on gym floor when people come through, my recommendation is always seek advice depending on the injury from your physio or whoever you're seeing first. We tend to, in the gym, the way it would work is you would have a letter from your physio and we go from their recommendations to help guide you in the gym. So think of us as almost like a coach, yeah, someone there to help guide you through those exercises that are being designed for you. But there is no reason that you can't work around an injury or help strengthen an injury depending on how severe it is, of course. We often get people that get assigned to us from our local physio that's close by to us, and they'll design a program and we will take them through it, whether it be in water or in the gym, and it helps them to recover faster than if they didn't do exercise. So if you want a faster recovery, then come into the centre or do an exercise that's safe for you.
You do need to load your body up as well. So to get back to sport, your body does need to have some passive load and then gradually increase it. Otherwise, you'll be back to injuring yourself again as well.
Thanks for that. And now a question for you, Alycia. So a lot of people say that playing AFL is a dangerous sport, or it does have quite high body contact. So how do you go with, and especially when you first started, about the thought of getting hurt or being injured when it's such a physical sport, I guess?
Yeah, so definitely one of the, I guess, scarier aspects to playing football is getting hurt and injured. I have definitely experienced an injury before, probably a minor one compared to others, but just reflecting on what Joanne and Lesley had said, I tore a calf muscle. I've done it a couple of times now, and everything that they said is so true, like physio and water and going to the gym and strengthening your bodies. To answer your question, sorry. So we, I guess at the start of our training sessions, we do a lot of strength and conditioning to our bodies. There's actually programs out there that are built for women who do play AFL. I guess because our bodies are different to men, and men's bodies probably can take harder hits than what we can. It's probably up there with just as rough. But just a lot of conditioning to our bodies and doing lots of strengthening exercises definitely helps. I can definitely see from the very start of my football career, which was when women's football took off in 2017, that there were a lot of injuries for the women, which was so sad to see. But as the years have progressed, and I guess we've learnt a lot more about women's bodies and what we can handle and what we need to do to, strengthen our bodies, the injuries have definitely become less prone because we're building our bodies up to be able to, take it on out in that football field. So, yeah.
Thanks for that, Alycia. Great answer. And Lesley and Joanne, Lucy's just wondering, you mentioned passive load before, and she's just wondering, what do you mean by passive load?
So, I suppose I can use an example of being a runner and being a running coach, is that a lot of my athletes, if they've got injured, you know, we might say, first of all, you might go in the water, and believe it, runners hate being in the water. Generally, they can't swim very well, but they do start with non-weight bearing activities, but it's really important to then go to weight bearing. So if you're doing like some really low strength work, low grade, which Alycia was saying, with a torn calf muscle, it might be, you know, some calf type strengthening work, but walking. So people underestimate walking. If you're wanting to go into a sport where you've got a bit of an injury and it's a running sport, if you do everything that's non-weight bearing, then try and jump back into running, you're likely to get injured again. So, you know, walking is a basis of all activity. And I tell my runners all the time that if they, when they're injured, that they need to go walking. They go, oh, because, you know, they just want to run. It's so boring. You know, so they need to load their bodies. They actually do need to get some load into the body so it gets used to it. And then from there, they progress to like walk, jog, and then slowly jog, and then into more high level activities that Alicia's talking about, and, you know, involved in whatever particular sport they are involved in.
Thanks for explaining that, Lesley. So the next question I have, and we'll start with Lesley and Joanne, what would you say to someone who's had a bad experience at a gym?
Should I go on this one again?
Well,
you go on this one.
Okay. If someone's had a bad experience, I'll give you an example. I'll try and keep it short. When I was 12, I went to a aerobics class with a group of friends. So again, I had a support system there with me because the girls need that. And I remember everyone was doing it, and the instructors yelling at me, easy walk. And I'm like, this isn't easy, lady. I'm going to slap her. She's just yelling at me, go for it. And I'm like, I can't do it. And for the life of me, I could not do it. Now, I did not go back for another probably 4 months until my friends finally pushed me to give it another try. I went back, and, you know, I'd been practicing that easy walk in between, and I scored it like no tomorrow because I knew I was going to do it. So I guess my answer is, if you fail the first time, try again, and never give up, because it is worth it. And eventually when you do get it, you'll be like, what was I scared of in the first place? So give it a try.
And a lot of it is actually, again, what we're talking about, confidence. So a lot of it, if we're not very confident, we actually perceive things a little bit differently. My experience was when I first went to the gym many, many years ago, I got given a program. And of course, I was so nervous when they showed me the program, I forgot every single thing that was on it. So I went along my own, and there was a lot of men in the gym, which you probably all experienced. And I started just copying what other people were doing. And then I went on trying to do some squats, and a really nice gentleman came up to tell me that I wasn't doing it correctly, and he sort of tried to help me. So after that, I did exactly what Joe. I didn't go back at first. I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. But that was really just my own head, because he was actually trying to help me. And again, but once I went away and I got a little bit more confident, and then you just, you know, went in, and I mean, I guess that's what we try and do on a personal level, is really try and we get people when we're nervous, and we can sense it, and to try and support them as much as we can. But we've all been there, honestly.
Yes, we have.
Thank you. And Alycia, I'm guessing it's going to be a similar answer, to just give it a go and keep going back. But what about for someone who's had a bad experience at a sports club, where they've tried out a sport and maybe it hasn't been as welcoming environment as, say, your experience? What would you say to them?
It would be so hard to, you know, to see someone feeling that way. I would hate for someone to feel that way if they were coming into a sporting club. However, maybe they just weren't a good fit. I don't know, maybe it was the club, who knows, but I think the best thing that you can do is to give it another go, but maybe try somewhere else, and take a friend along with you. Like, having, you know, a bit of support there with you really helps, I think. And yeah, as the other two said, you know, you do sort of have to have that confidence, and yeah, just give it another go. And, you know, even if you do take that break, or, you know, take a couple of months to sort of recoup yourself, and you know, find the courage to have another go, yeah, just keep pushing, and yeah, definitely take a friend, because I think that helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think that the messages that have come through today have been really great. And just hearing from local Yarra Ranges women on their experiences being active has been really insightful, and talking about the barriers and motivations for being active. It's been a really great session. So I'd like to give a big thank you to the three of you, Alycia, Joanne and Lesley. It's been a really great session, and I hope the attendees have enjoyed it as well. So before we finish up, and while we're randomly drawing the winner of the Fitbit, I'd just like to put up a poll to get some feedback from everyone. So a poll's just going to go up on your screen in a couple of seconds, and we're just going to get you to answer 3 questions. So the 3 questions are: what council area do you live in? Has being part of this webinar made you feel like being more active? And would you be interested in future events related to women and girls being active? So I'll just get you to answer those 3 questions that are on your screen, just for our knowledge. And while you're doing that, we're just finishing off the poll now. I'd like to announce that the winner of the Fitbit is Colleen Tove. So Colleen will be in touch via email to get your details to get the Fitbit to you, but congratulations. So it's now time to finish up. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. We've got our 2 final webinars tomorrow, and one of the webinars is with a This Girl Can ambassador. So I encourage you to come along to it. You can find the details on the This Girl Can website or on the Facebook event. So I'd like to thank the 4 other councils, the co-collaborators of this webinar series, in particular to Joe and Tamara, who've helped out on this webinar today, as well as a big thank you to Big Health for their support. Lastly, another thank you to Lesley, Joanne, Alycia for sharing your experience and wisdom. So I'd like everyone to enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and hopefully see you on the last webinars tomorrow.